rebounded them, but then the turnovers, that kind of equaled it out. How were y'all able to survive the second half pressure to win this game?
We survived their second half pressure by being consistent day in and day out. And so one of the things that we talked about in one of the timeouts was we knew that they were going to make a run, but we've talked since day one about how consistent we can be. And so the water always levels out, so we can't get too high and too low. And so that was their opportunity to settle back in, and they did that. And so pressure is fake. We love being trapped. We just weren't being disciplined. And so as we've talked over the last couple of weeks about areas that we can grow and how we can reduce our turnovers, which we do address, it's how can we just be more disciplined and reduce our turnovers. We each have consistent turnovers that we make, things that are our security blanket turnovers, and can we eliminate those? I don't know that we necessarily did it for 40 minutes, but there were possessions where I did see a lot of growth, where we did make different decisions that usually would have resulted in turnovers. So overall, I was really proud of their ability to respond and get back to our press break principles. Coach Lindsay Hieronymus does a phenomenal job. She does all of our press break scenarios, and so she was able to get them back settled into where they needed to be and how they can be disciplined in those spots.
How cool was it to see that Franca Wittenberg show? She wasn't shooting well at all until y'all needed her in that last minutes.
Yeah.
How cool was it to see her play that well and hit them free throws? She had a lot of clutch free throws.
Franca is one of the players on our team, and we have a couple. I think she and Shariah both have shown that they can be kind of a steadying presence for us. And early she got a little bit frazzled, and I just reminded her of all the work that she'd done. But you know, there were a lot of possessions of very physical defensive possessions on her drives, and so we just talked about her being able to adjust, and she did that, and she got back to a composed place, and she's someone that is very rarely emotional, and so we were very confident. We're usually always confident when she gets to the free throw line at the end of the game.
Is Gales and 33 and 34. Can you help me say 33?
Yasmin Jabril.
Jabril. Are they double like it seemed like Wright was doubling them every time they hit the paint. How well have they been playing through this?
Well, I think that they have. I think if you look at the DNA of who we are, the post play is a big part of what we want to do philosophically, offensively. And so other teams do have to scheme to figure out how they're going to stop them. I will say I think Shariah had 20 and Yasmin had 7. Yasmin didn't have any rebounds in the first half and ended up with 5. And so I will say they are still able to get back to their discipline technique of being able to maneuver despite the doubles. I think one thing that we don't talk enough about them is they are selfless in that they understand that their job is to draw defenders. And so they are willing to draw defenders either to get a teammate open, but also understand that on the backside of that, eventually those teams are going to have to make an adjustment and they will have easier looks, but they're not afraid to do the dirty, gritty work, and they come in and they do that every day.
And is that how Clay ended up entering the starting lineup to open the floor for girls like her? How has she, I think this was her second or third start, how has she entered the lineup?
I think game to game, you could see potentially different starting lineups. We played Cincinnati and Yasmin didn't start because we wanted to go with a slightly different playing style. Last game that we played, we had a different focus and intention. And so I think the thing that we knew that Nuna, Cornelia goes by Nuna, the thing that we knew that Nuna would bring to the table would be her defensive prowess, and she did that. We wanted somebody that could come in that we knew would be reliable and disciplined, to be able to hound Breezy Williams, who's a fantastic point guard and has the ability not only to take tough shots but also hit them.
And I was actually going to ask about, because y'all were face guarding Breezy, and I think 24 sometimes too, like the length of the court. How satisfied were you on Franca and Clay guarding them?
Well, I think top to bottom, not just those two. I think our entire team defensive effort, because they have a small part, but the other players can't let their kids get off either, or their offensive players get off either. And I think that the way that we started the game and the way that we ended the game in terms of our intensity and effort, that's what we're seeking out for 40 minutes. And so I was really pleased with the total team effort. I look at Sage Randolph, who came in and played 2 possessions, but they were an incredible 2 possessions. And the team forced a turnover in one of the possessions that she was on the floor. And so it's truly everyone buying into the identity that we have to be defensive minded and finish plays.
How was this 0-7 start? What did you learn from your team, and how have y'all been able to get out of the last 2 games?
I think, last year to this year, I think similar focus points and lessons. We don't really focus in terms of how many wins we have or if we're going to win. It's more of how do we develop the habits that we're going to win. And I think that I learned about our team is very similarly to our team last year when we were, I believe, 1-12 in November, December. This team has the same ability to show up consistently and do the work. And with that, the results that we want will come if we can be diligent in that.
A question on more general Western New York women's basketball, because I came back and there's Division I women from Buffalo that's playing very, very well right now, like top scorers and rebounders. As somebody who scouts the area, what have you seen from the athletes in the Buffalo area where I haven't seen anything like this? What's different about the Buffalo women?
I don't know that if we can limit it to just the Buffalo women. I think just the people in general in Buffalo are just a tough blue collar people. I love how tough whenever we go out, and we do recruit local. So we've been to several local gyms, and we'll actually be out on the road this weekend and go off and see some teams locally as well. But we know that if we can be fortunate, if we're fortunate enough to recruit one of these Western New York kids, we know that we're going to get a tough, skilled young lady. I think if you look at Molly Mescal, who's on our team now, she embodies all that is Buffalo. She is tough, she's skilled, she's a freshman that's figured it out, and she's going to be really good for the blue and gold.
Thanks, Coach. That's all I have for you.
Mm-hmm.